Hi, everybody. I'm feeling a bit odd today. Not me physically, I'm fine. But although there is a lot I want to talk to you about, I don't know whether I should or not. Is it worth it getting into arguments with strangers about things you personally believe in or are concerned about? Is it worth trying to open people's eyes to how they are being fooled and their souls sold to the highest bidder? Is it worth being accused of hating people when you don't hate, but instead love the very ones who accuse you of hate? Like it has happened a few times before, particularly over the last month, I prepared a completely different video for yesterday, decided to postpone it to today, and then this morning I checked my notes and decided I am not in the mood for the shit that I will get from it. So today I'm going to give commentary on a couple of articles and videos, but let's get something out of the way first. I listened to Lady C's last video last night, and in particular to her addressing the bullying investigation. Now, I fully agreed with her. I also found insightful and must admit that it calmed my irritation with the situation a little. And I do not always agree with Lady C and am sometimes amazed that we are reading the same history but have such a different opinion on certain things. But on this particular matter, I fully understand and see her point and agree with her. Having said that, I did not say in my video that I expected the royal family to release the report or the details of it. What I tried to say was that they, the royal family or the monarchy, started it and they had to end it instead of leaving it up to everyone to again speculate, which is again damaging in itself. A simple statement saying that certain improprieties were found and steps are being taken to correct it and prevent similar occurrences in the future would have sufficed, and bam, a slap down, and the sugars would not have been able to spin it in Meghan Markle's favor. I certainly understand that not all of the complainants want their details in the media or made public. But if it is Meghan or her sugars they or you are afraid of, then sorry, it is too late. Meghan and her lawyers received copies of every complaint and every statement and a copy of the report because, according to British law, she is entitled to it. Meghan thus knows who the complaints came from, and in reality, so do we, and the sugars, unless they are completely stupid. Anyway, let's leave that for now. Hopefully, Tom Bauer will not disappoint us, and there will be more details in his book to satisfy our curiosity. Okay, I'm placing part of an article on the screen, and I nearly cried when I saw it. Okay, I'm joking, but I appreciated the fact that mainstream media is finally picking up on it. In the article, York Central Labour MP Rachel Maskell said that there is currently no definite mechanism to deprive or remove a ducal title. Currently, as she correctly stated, A similar action was taken in 1917 during the First World War to strip titles from those who fought against the British. And I think in one of my recent videos, I said the Second World War because I was just too lazy to go look for my notes on a previous older video in which I actually explained the situation surrounding those circumstances. Anyway, as some of you may know, the residents of York had the opportunity to sign a petition for the removal of Andrew's dukedom, and the majority did. So, Miss Maskell submitted her removal of titles bill on Monday, and this bill, if passed, will set a guideline whereby the monarch or a parliamentary committee would be able to remove a title. Although I am feeling just a tad sorry for Andrew, I think this will be for the best. It is long past due that the royals, the elite, and the mega rich realize that there are consequences for their actions as well, that they are taught accountability. And I honestly hope that if and when the bill is passed, they will seriously consider stripping Harry's titles. In my opinion, Harry and Meghan are doing the monarchy and Britain a lot more damage than Andrew. Yes, Andrew may have been an entitled, spoiled prick, but he has some redeeming features, like his bravery during the Falklands War, like helping to save the artworks from Windsor Castle during a fire in 1992, and being extremely loyal to his mother, the Queen, his family, and his country. Andrew gave that one horrendous interview, but he is not in the media daily, moaning and complaining, playing the victim, or mirching his title while he still can. I'm also grateful for Lady C not shying away from the subject of Harry and Meghan's children, and I am grateful for her putting emphasis on the legal consequences we may face if and when we dare to overshare. Many moons ago, information was shared from my personal website without my permission, and wasn't for the help of a subscriber who is in the legal profession, I could have faced legal consequences, which I certainly could not afford, and not because it wasn't even true, but because it was actually true. Now, okay, it's a long story which some of you may already have heard, so I'm not going to repeat it, but suffice it to say, if there were no factual basis for my information, I could have faced numerous charges of defamation, etc. In my case, though, the parties wanted to legally force me to disclose a source, something I would not ever do. I would rather burn my electronics than have someone pay with their job and life for the Harkle's shenanigans. So, like Lady C, and I'm sure others, yes, of course, we are the recipients of gossip and sometimes even factual information, but we cannot always disclose or share everything, as we, like everybody else, are subject to the laws of our countries, international law, and so forth. And that is why we are growing increasingly frustrated with the shenanigans of the likes of Harry and Meghan, because we can't willy nilly spread stories, true or false, but they can and did with no repercussions whatsoever. Yes, frustratingly, people are saying, oh, but there were repercussions. Just look at the Jubilee celebrations. They sat in the second row. Well, my dears, if the only repercussion for me would have been to be demoted to the second row, I would have shared absolutely everything I had, true or not, with you in the blink of an eye. And I am not the only one. Meghan and Harry would like to think they live in a bubble and are absolutely untouchable, but they don't. There are people who know their secrets, and I'm sure that if the only threat to those people was to be seated in the second row, Harry and Meghan would have been in deep, deep trouble and totally humiliated by now. But you see, unlike Harry and Meghan, we could lose our jobs, our vehicles, and even our homes if we are not careful. Okay, so now let's address the next thing, which had my blood pressure rising and which should do the same for many of you, because it is the worst case of exploitation I have ever heard of. Many of you may have heard about Harry wanting to go to Ukraine, to the front line, to talk to and show support for the Ukrainian soldiers. Apparently, he intended to go not as a royal, not as a celebrity, but as a private individual. Yes, right. He could just as well have said that he wanted to do it for a Netflix documentary. As we all know, they are desperate to come up with something before the deadline. Well, our thoughts barely had time to stew, or the story that Yulia, and I can't say her surname, I'm just going to try, Yulia Payovska, known as Tyra, used a body camera to film war footage for Harry's Netflix documentary. She then smuggled the data card out in a tampon. It is said that she was given the camera by Netflix to film footage for Harry's documentary. At some point, I guess after she handed over the footage, she was captured but later released in a prisoner exchange where she was swapped for Chechen warlord Ramzan Kadyrov and £360,000. Okay, let that sink in. Now, firstly, if this is not the worst case of exploitation, or at the very least, one of the worst cases you have ever heard of, then I do not know what is. We saw and heard how Meghan Markle tried to exploit the situation in Uvalde by flying there with security and photographers, and now this. Where will these two draw the line if they are not willing to draw the line at death and war? I'm even willing to agree with Trevor Colt that it is likely that Harry never intended going to Ukraine, but that he was likely going to manipulate some of the footage to make it look like he was there. Regardless, it is just gross that Harry even considered using war scenes to enhance the viewership of his documentary. Yes, the Invictus Games are about injured veterans, but we all know that the war in Ukraine is still fresh and ongoing. We all know that there is largely an embargo on reporting and news and filming of the war worldwide. We know that the last international journalist left Mariupol a month, say 2 months ago. So Harry and Netflix thought they will exploit this and scoop everybody. Is that what they thought? Because make no mistake, if Netflix provided this woman with that camera, then they are complicit in this exploitation. And I wonder who really paid that £360,000? Harry, the royal family, or the British government? Because can you imagine the terrible scandal if this woman died before this story came out, or died in the process of getting this footage? Anyway, for Netflix and Harry to try and make money out of a war in which so many people have perished is just plain despicable. How dare Harry ever speak about his mental health ever again? Or then, for that matter, anyone else's mental health. Because when it comes to making money, he clearly did not care what effect this footage would have on the thousands of Ukrainian refugees. Disgusting. And I hope Netflix loses another 200,000 subscribers and they continue to lose subscriptions until they get the darn message. Harry and Meghan do not have 1 ounce of creativity between the two of them, and all they have is exploitation afforded to them by the use of those bloody titles they still carry around with them. If I did not have so much respect for you all, I would have inserted a very ugly swear word right here. Now, my dear friends, I have said this 100 times, if not more. I am a lot of things, and I'm certainly not perfect. I have made many mistakes in my life, and some I am still physically and emotionally paying for to this day. But one thing I have been adamant about my entire life was fairness, even when it comes to my enemies or those who have slighted me. And yes, even when it comes to Harry and Meghan, they have to work. We want them to work, to be independent and earn their own money. We do not want the royal family or anyone else to bail them out constantly. But what we do not want them to do is to exploit people or to be treated differently just because of their royal links. Take Meghan's book, for example. I'm willing to bet that if that rushed piece of trash was submitted by you or me, it would have been rejected, and for many valid reasons. It is not well written. It is not age appropriate, etc., etc. They got those Netflix and Spotify deals based solely on who they are and not because they had a stellar resume or could present anything they had previously produced. And that, my dears, is not fair. However, what can they do? Well, I hope Megan gets her TIG up and running again. I have an entire data dump on the TIG, and yes, she scored freebies, but to keep it going actually took work. It is not always easy to come up with new material to post a couple of times per week. And yes, you and I may not be interested in a lifestyle blog, but for people who are, Meghan's The Dig was actually very informative, and I must admit, some of the pieces even well written, and the links to the Instagram page, etc., which showed a little more of her personal activities, were interesting and may even have been fun for those who followed her. If Meghan could leave those darn titles behind and revive the dig and end up earning money off it, I would not begrudge her any of that. I myself went through a phase where I wrote articles and short stories for local magazines and online magazines, etc. And although I enjoyed it, it also took a lot of self-discipline and work. What can Harry do though? What is he qualified for? Unfortunately, very little. But somewhere in that empty head of his and in his heart somewhere, he must have a passion for something. I heard he is rather artistic. He has seen the insides of many beautiful homes and palaces. He has worked with veterans. He can ride horses. Somewhere inside of him, he must have something that he can do. When he is not moaning, complaining, or preaching and not faking an American accent, he actually has a good voice. Goodness, with a little thought, I'm sure he can come up with something legitimate. Or am I giving him too much credit? I don't know. Anyway, guys, I'm busy with some new material for the website. For those of you who are interested, I did not post a notice last month when I loaded a new short story and other material. So if you have not visited the website in 2 months or more and need some free entertainment, hop on over and go read some short stories, poetry, or you can even watch some short videos. It is absolutely free and donations are completely 100% voluntary and not expected, but are welcomed. I love writing and thoroughly enjoy the escapism that fiction allows for, and it gives me an absolute thrill to share pieces of my heart and sometimes my rather nutty and crazy brain with other people. There will also be a new video on my other channel in the next day or so, so look out for that. I will post a notice on my community page here as soon as the video is up and running. Okay, I'm glad that some of you are enjoying the small clips of my local area, and as soon as I have a proper camera sorted out, I'll do it more often and take you on walks through some of the beautiful scenery. I actually got a GoPro as a gift last Christmas, but it fell apart after using it only once, and because it was bought in Canada, I cannot return it. Maybe someone around here can put it back together for me or realign it or whatever it is that it needs so that the memory card can actually go back in. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back soon as I have caught up on some of my email and looked into other things that I really want to talk to you about. So until we meet again on the next video, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.